We've been fighting a long time, and we have all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Ave Maria Stella Dei Mater Alma Atque semper Virgo Felix te porta.
Welcome everybody, Steve with Census Pedalium on this different kind of resistance podcast show. It's more localized, but wanted to let you, everyone else is doing a video on this, especially that doesn't live here. So I figured, why not? I'll do one. Why not? I mean, I do live here. 30 minutes away from one of the parishes, 40 minutes away from another. I mean, I'm just right outside Charlotte. So I mean, if everyone else that is, I saw people, I think, in England talking about it. So why not click record? But unlike everyone else, I'm going through step by step on a lot of things, maybe bring you some up to date on what the history of the diocese is in general, how good it is, and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and get started. Friday is when this letter came in. I got a text Thursday saying, get ready. Here's the letter. Obviously, I think everyone's always seen it. Completion of implementation of Traditionalis Custodes in the Diocese of Charlotte. July 2021. Again, you've probably seen the letter. Pope Francis published this letter, TC, which restore limits on the celebration of TLM in the Universal Church to promote ecclesiastical communion. My predecessor, Bishop Peter Jugas, requested and received from the Holy See an extension for the Diocese of Charleston in order to arrange an orderly transition to the new instructions. That temporary extension expires this year, and I am now ready to finish the diocese implementation for my English-speaking people of the norms established in TC. Now, full disclosure, I was here when that happened, when Bishop Jugas went to Rome personally to get this extension. And people were losing it back here because they were going, 2 years, we only got 2 years and it's over. As the priest said, who the priests are fantastic, by the way, they were telling people, calm down. It's 2 years. You don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like in 2 years. Fast forward 2 years. What has happened? Francis died a couple months ago. This is, again, not in a way of kicking the can. It's like ninja style. They want this done. We're going to get the okay, but they have no idea what our intention is. Their intention wasn't to get rid of things like this. They were trying to postpone them from getting rid of it to, hey, maybe Francis will be dead by then. The gamble paid off. Plus, again, if 2 years were by and he was still alive, and Judas was healthy because he ended up having a really bad kidney health issue. That's why he's not here right now. Sad to say, miss His Excellency. And missed him before all this, but obviously now really miss him. He did pontifical masses in choir. This is his home diocese. He grew up here. I think his home parish was St. Anne's. It was the main traditional parish here, where traditional mass was the first one in the area. St. Thomas has it now. They started right after the Rona started. And but anyways, get back to this. So just in case anybody says it was already going, no, there's more to it than just that paragraph. Effective July 8th, 2021, the TLM will no longer be celebrated at parishes in the Diocese of Charlotte. In accordance with TC Article 3 says, paragraph 2, I am designating a chapel in the diocese where faithful adherents may gather for the celebration of the Eucharist on Sundays and holy days obligation using the Roman Missal of 1962. The chapel is set aside and the purpose is located at blah, 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 blah. I'll give you a photo of it. It's Ugly as Sin Highway. Mooresville, North Carolina. The name of the chapel is yet to be determined. So they have to change it because it's so bad right now. But which is funny is they need to put, well, I guess I could show you now. That's what the chapel looks like, okay? And it's Christian, Freedom Christian Center. So they have to change the name, obviously, because it's that bad. And that's what the inside looks like. And they said they're going to renovate it. I don't know how. And I mean, burn it and then rebuild it would be a better idea. But the funny part about it is the renovations will end on, you guessed it, October, when we was supposed to the extension was supposed to be ended. So it's going to start in July, and that won't be ready till October. So we're going to be in some kind of like gym or schoolroom or something till then. I guess I don't know. I mean, really, I mean, just reading it, you will understand that they don't have a plan for it. Well, he doesn't have a plan for it. I want to say they. I'm sorry. He doesn't have a plan for this because I mean, even people were asking. It's 2 days a month. Actually, it's two masses per Sunday. But again, everything's just clear as mud in this. A priest of the diocese, back to the letter, will be appointed as chaplain to be responsible for celebrating 2 Sunday masses and holy day masses using the 62 missal at this site. Those are interested, participation, blah blah blah, will remain active members of their current parishes. Thank you. Where they may continue receiving the sacraments, because you can't get the sacraments at that one except for a Eucharist. So they don't have a priest to do it name yet, because think about it. Most of the parishes probably have one. There's quite a few that have 2 or 3. But then who gets to draw straws to do it? I mean, obviously the at St. Thomas of St. Anne's, they're by themselves right now. So do they sacrifice them? Do they go up to wherever, to Mooresville to do this? Because I mean, if they do, that's 40-minute drive for the priest to do that. So who's going to be the priest? He doesn't know. Which again, probably should have had your P's and Q's together before this. What times are this? I mean, obviously, I love in the morning because it's better for the kids and families and things like that. But I mean, is this so we can't sacrifice somebody else's parish? Do you have it at 4 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening? What? I mean, is it, how bad, and what is the schedule like? Nobody knows again. So there's a lot of questions going on about all that, from the bombshell that went on Friday. And it's just like anybody that knows anything about politics, you see something on Friday, it's just usually the bombshell to get away from the media at the time. Yeah, and here's that. Here is His Excellency. I'm helping out with this website and channel. I'll show you the website. But one of the priests told me, "Hey, you had to find his interview or his press conference right after he got named, before he got put in the seat." And somebody asked him the question about the TLM. Looking back a year later, because this was a year ago. His anniversary's coming up in a day or two. Looking back, I'm glad somebody asked this question.
Our live stream online, changes in the Latin Mass, throughout the world, and the recent approval of 4 parishes here. The question would be, what are your intentions of meeting the needs of the Latin Mass, or welcoming them, or basically for their future in the diocese?
Sure. I mean, like I said, I'm here to welcome everyone. I don't make those kinds of distinctions. I think the Holy Father's been very clear about how he wants that particular form to be celebrated, and I believe the diocese is carrying that out appropriately here, and so I see no reason to change that.
Obviously, I mean, I don't want to put any thoughts or anything, the reader's mind or anything like that. So, what happened between now and then? I mean, we were hearing news months later. Well, I guess speaking of that, I guess I could do this because of that. When you say months later, if you are aware of, it's not there, 10 books. Sorry, I'll do this on the fly for you. I did hit the mic, right? I am. Okay, didn't mess that up. 10 books. If you're familiar with Conor Gallagher and 10 books, he did a podcast with Father Prius OP, and there's the original one. Titled The Limits of Authority When Popes, Bishops, and Priests Go Too Far. Now, this was published 4 months ago. So it gives you an idea that today is May. That was done in end of January. And it was all about what's going on here. Let's see if there's one. Yeah. I personally love this section right here.
If it's an older church or new, if it's a church with altar rails, then it's, the architecture therefore it's there for receiving on the knees. Now, like in our parish, it's optional, but we all line up along.
Sure. Lots of parishes do that.
Right. And so it's optional. But
I think I was telling you before, our parish in Columbus, or Dominican parish in Columbus, just never stopped receiving at the rail. There was never a time in which people received standing. It's always been at the rail.
Can a bishop tell a pastor to stop using the altar rail?
Well, this is the thing. I just don't understand functionally how that happens. What are you going to do when people just kneel there? Are you just going to ignore them? Because that's what he's doing. He's saying, Pastor, what I want you to do is, these people want to come to communion and they want to receive it kneeling. I want you to deny that to them.
Well, he wants to stand in the center and have the two lines coming up, just like
And what happens then if they just go to the side and kneel at the rail? Then what's the priest supposed to do? Again, deny them communion? Bishop, if you want to come down here and talk to them, feel free. Come to Mass. Explain to them what's going on. Explain with them what you want to do. But I will say, if I was a pastor and there's somebody at the rail and wants to receive communion, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give them communion. And I think in conscience I have to. Right? I think that for me that's a matter of conscience, because there's nothing that suggests to me in law or in morals that they're not properly disposed or ready to receive communion. And if that's the case, I don't have any right to deny it to them.
So we're in the nitty gritty. So now we're talking about, I totally get what you're saying about not denying somebody who goes over there and kneels, but where the priest and deacon or whoever, they're ritualistically or routinely distribute communion, because do they go over to the altar rail and wait for everybody to line up, or do they stand in the center? Can a bishop regulate where the priest goes to distribute communion?
That is a very good question. I will say first of all, I hope not. But
it's a specific question. I know it's specific, but I don't think this is fictional.
No, I know it's not fictional at all. So there's a tension here, and there's two things that you have to keep in mind.
So again, you see where we're going with this. We knew this stuff was coming down. That's why we got all this stuff on record. Check out the link. I have it below in the show notes, but it's a very, 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 very good interview that they did. And it's also on Conor Gallagher's the Conor Gallagher show channel. So either whichever way you go to, check it out. It's 2.5 hours, and you're going to learn a lot in there. Especially again, you're going to see that they knew this was coming for a long time. This is not just the only topic. Let's see here. I wanted to go with a little Jocko, as I always like doing. The reason why is, remember the original good? So, things like this are happening to us. Most of the people are upset, for obvious reasons. And I got another video where Friar Anthony, who's also been attacked, if anybody's watched the channel, Bishop Martin's been going after the Marian friars up in the mountains, just north, in between Boone and here, for a while. Bishop Stowe and him, we think he was pretty confident that they get together on this, but they were going after him quite often, to the point that I was getting emails from priests asking, "Hey, are these guys okay? Because we're friends with them and we've been helping them in the sense of we like these guys. What's the deal?" And now Friar Anthony and them are incarnate with the Ukrainian diocese, the East Coast. So they're good. They're in. And anyway, I got a lecture or podcast that he put together on this topic. It wasn't because of this, but it was just great timing that it came out at the same time. So anyways, let's get into good, because again, this goes into Holy Job. Blessed be God. Blessed, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And everything, and just being detached from situations, looking at not saying always look on the bright side of life, but look on the bright side of life in a sense of, okay, we're getting punished, we're getting persecution, thank you, Lord, thank you. The St. John St. John of Avila has that line. One blessed be God in bad times is way better than 1,000 blessed be Gods during good times. So again, here's his second video where he talks about good.
Yeah.
Some of the same, they're good questions on this one.
Yeah.
All right, so good. Going to the first question is, so I'm a Marine and well over 20 years of federal law enforcement, and both of my sons are Marines. Both amazing, good men with excellent character. We share some of the same reads as well as push each other on the fitness journeys, so good comes up. It's like that word makes you laugh while applying it, but inside it resonates with you. My younger son, 20 years old, active duty, recently came back from Norway, Arctic weather training. Had a cough, was a little tired and losing weight. He was immediately told he has cancer. Within 3 weeks, he was transferred to Walter Reed and diagnosed with advanced stage 3, classic Hodgkin's lymphoma. The treatment won't be easy, but they say it's still curable. The kid has been a beast, but he is down 45 pounds and starts chemo in 5 days. For the last couple of weeks, we've just looked at each other and said, good. Yesterday, we sat down with the doctors and got the full diagnosis. The treatment strategy, all the good, the ugly, all on the table. It was just, it was a tough day. My kids still found the time to reflect on how in their life. Some worse, some not so bad, but it's their fight. This is just his. We didn't say good yesterday, but we need to moving forward. So can you help me finish this line? You were diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, advanced stage 3. Good. ...
Yeah, that's rough, obviously. That being said, good, you're still here, right? Like, you're still here. What could have happened in Norway? You're doing Arctic weather training, you're flying a helicopter, it goes down, everyone dies. That happens, but that didn't happen. You're still here. Oh, by the way, good, it's curable. It's curable. How many people get that diagnosis for whatever disease they've got, and it's not curable? So good, yours is curable. Oh, by the way, good, you can return to full health. Right? You can get back to where you are right now or where you were. You can get back there. So that's awesome. That's good. Oh, by the way, good, you get more years of life. Because there's some people, whatever happens to them, their life's over. Whether they get in an accident, whether they get in a helo crash, whether they get in a car accident, whether they get a disease that rapidly deteriorates, and they don't get years to live. Maybe they get seconds, maybe they get minutes, maybe they get hours, maybe they get weeks, but you've got years. So that's good. Oh, by the way, good, you get to maintain your mental faculties, right? You can carry on conversation still. You can still think through processes. You can still strategize. Some people get in either diseases or accidents where they lose their mental faculties. Well, that didn't happen to you. Good. By the way, you get to keep your memories too of your life, which is awesome. And by the way, good, you got this instead of someone in your family who's weaker and might not be able to handle it. Right? What trade got made? Is there some nephew or cousin or parent in the family unit or in the extended family that this would devastate them? Yeah. But you got it. Good. And I can tell from this note, 3 Marines in the family, Semper Fi, I can tell the family unit here is strong and good. This family can push through it better than most. We can support each other. Good. And by the way, you get to watch the sunset tonight, and you get to watch the sunset tomorrow. And you get to appreciate those things even more. Good. Oh, and by the way, you lost 45 pounds. Good. You get to do a full bulking phase. Steak, pizza, burgers, fries, milkshakes. Put back on 45 pounds. Good. Let's go. And when you wrap up that bulking phase, good, you are now going to value your health more than ever. You are going to cherish physical fitness more than ever. Good. So you are diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, advanced stage 3. Good. I get to live. And I will not waste a second of this life.
In a sense, you hear that about the cherish, what he said about like cherishing this now, or you're looking at life differently. How many people went to Mass this past Sunday with a better devotion to the Mass that they went to? Maybe prayed a little bit harder or better. Or, your mindset was changed. It wasn't like, not saying that anyone went ho-hum wise, but there was a little more, I don't know, it was a different atmosphere. It wasn't the normal, it wasn't the same. Almost like you were more focused in a sense. Now, it's hard to maintain that every time. Just think about sports too. It's hard to focus. Like, well, it's very easy to shoot a free throw. Yes, it's very easy to shoot a free throw. I was pretty good at it. But it's different if you're tired or beat or, your mind. Coach would always say, get your mind right, because if you lose focus, then you're thinking of something else. You might not be focusing on aim small, miss small, like the back of the iron right there. The miss to get so that the ball will go in the right area where you want it to go. Maybe your focus is over here or over there. Everyone's done it. It's human nature. You might go into Mass and all of a sudden you're thinking of what you're eating afterwards. Or I remember hearing a joke back in Denver when someone goes, my husband whispered in my ear, bacon. Or sometimes we could smell bacon in the kitchen when I was at Mount Carmel out in Denver. And it would distract you from what's going on. Not that anybody meant for it to happen, but it happened. So anybody that went to Mass this past week, I guarantee you were probably hyper-focused and took that Mass way more seriously than you were before. Good. Your devotion went up. Good. Your focus on what's needed to be done. Good. Your attitude to try to help probably increased. Good. Your attitude towards the priest probably went up. Good. Because these priests, they're hurt just as much as you are, even more, because hey, we get to travel. We can travel. They can't. So again, it goes back to, it's not being, oh, Steve, you're being, how would you say, I can't believe you're saying this good. Well, what if it is good? What if it's a blessing in disguise? Maybe, I know Bishop Martin's letters, the PDF and all that talks about that, taking listen to the Holy Spirit on this. And he goes, take it and run with it. Make the situation good. Life throws you lemons, make lemonade. Good. All right, this is going to Mooresville. Good. Let's convert Mooresville. He's given us the parish to do what, have the Mass in. Okay, good. Let's make that thing beautiful. Everyone's, really 4 of the 5 will go to it, parishes, because Tryon, I love that city, that town. They'll go to Prince of Peace because it's 45 minutes away. I'll get into the logistics for anybody that doesn't know here in a minute. But the rest, what if everyone combines a choir? Make it an ultimate choir. That's good. Everybody starts singing and really, really getting involved after this. So really evangelize and maybe bringing more people into the Mass. Good. Because after this is over, and I'll have to play it when Friar Anthony brings it up too. We have hurricanes, storms come through. What happens? It's pretty afterwards, isn't it? The sunshine comes back out. Like a fire breaks out in the woods. Everyone goes, everyone makes it's the worst thing ever. Well, for nature, it's good. Because all the nutrients that gets built back into the soil and life grows. That's what California is so beautiful, is the fires that happen naturally, and the ashes and such get back into the ground afterwards, and more beautiful life comes through. It's a good thing. Or like a flood, in the Amazon. If flood is 40 feet deep and all this, I mean, it really comes down hard. 40% of it's covered, brings in nutrients. The ground gets, it's good for it. Same thing here. All right, looks like we're getting our brains kicked in. All right, good. There's two things you can do. You can either have a good mindset out of it, follow through, and make the best out of the situation, or we can go over and cry in a corner, complain, get mad, get bitter, things like that. It's up to us on that one. Right now, this is the situation. I know people are fighting. I know people that are trying to petition. I'm helping with the petition. We're working on things. So a lot of people are very optimistic on what can happen out of this because of how crazy everything has gone since. We'll get into that too. So hang tight, one. Don't go off. Don't worry. Don't pray, hope, don't worry. It's not just a bumper sticker. It's actually practice that. Pray, hope, don't worry. You can practice that every day. But yes, look at it like good. As Jocko talks about, this guy had stage 4 lymphoma cancer. We don't have cancer. None of you. Maybe hopefully all you guys are doing pretty well out there health-wise. This will pass. It's a temporary situation. Even if it goes all the way, it will still be a temporary situation. Let's go to the website, Faithful Advocate. A friend of mine started it. I'm helping promote it. So go to it if you're definitely in the Charlotte area, faithfuladvocate.org. Everything will be in the show notes, so just click underneath. This has a lot of the things down here, like step 1, sign a petition. Step 2, write letters. Step 3, canonical process to decrees. Here's the PDF for all 3 steps for immediate action. Get help on key issues. You want to listen, there's traditional mass permissions, video limits of the bishop's authority. It's the Conor Gallagher showed her. Bishop Martin's 2025 decree. Bishop Martin's 2024 promise that I just played earlier. Here's the letter from the 4 pastors urging the bishop not to end the TLM. I don't know if a lot of people have seen this or not. We have it up on the website. We offer our sincere prayers that this letter finds you in good health and spirits. We, the priests entrusted in pastoral care of the attending TLM in 4 of our parishes within the Diocese of Charlotte, respectfully write to request the reconsideration of the planned steps concerning the implementation of Traditionis Custodes. The presence of the TLM in our diocese parishes dates back to the period following Benedict XVI's motu proprio Summarum Pontificum in 2007. The late pontiff reaffirmed the legitimacy of the faithful's desire to access the traditional liturgy, echoing what Pope St. John Paul II in 1988 termed legitimate desires for the Latin Mass. This motu proprio was undoubtedly part of his broader initiative to promote the hermeneutic of continuity. Yeah, my English-speaking people. Sometimes I stink at reading, speaking, all that above. Within the life of the Church, Pope Benedict XVI believed that both liturgical forms could coexist peacefully within the Church and even within the same parish. Such has indeed been the case in our parishes since its implementation. Our parishes have experienced harmony with all parishioners, regardless of liturgy, being spiritually nourished. I can be there, I'm here, and that's 100% accurate. It is important to acknowledge that those attached to the traditional liturgy have, over the past 5 decades, often felt marginalized and discriminated against. Consequently, their trust in church leadership has, understandably, been weakened over time. A significant aspect of our ministry involves reconciliation and accompaniment for those who have felt unwelcome. We fear a reversal in policy will negatively impact the goodwill built up over the years. The primary concern, according to TC, and the assertion that the presence of the traditional liturgy in parochial settings leads to division within the Church, we can affirm with confidence that this has not been the experience in our parishes. The planned removal of the Latin Mass from 4 parishes affecting over 1,000 parishioners is a matter of considerable consequence. To remove Catholics with legitimate desires from their own parishes is, we believe, a deeply painful action. We understand your endeavor to implement the Holy Father's will as expressed in TC. However, we respectfully submit that the current plan appears to exceed the specific requirements of TC in at least 3 areas. 1, the decision not to request an extension of permissions from the Holy See. 2, the decision to allow for only 1 designated site. 3, the decision not to establish a Latin Mass community for the faithful. We believe it is crucial to consider not only the letter of TC, but how the Holy See has chosen to implement the document in a broader church. Other dioceses have been granted extensions. Others offer multiple Mass sites, and others have established land Mass communities like the ICK, FSSP, etc. Even Cardinal Roche, considered the primary architect of TC, in an interview on March 7, 2025, which was a week or two before this was, when was this? What was the letter? May 27th, so a couple months beforehand. Reaffirmed the young people who desired attending the Latin Mass remain faithful members of the church. Quote, of course, it is good that people want to be part of the church, and there is no reason why they cannot. There is nothing wrong with attending the Mass celebrated with the 1962 Missal. That has been accepted since the time of John Paul II, Benedict, and now Francis. Given that the faithful possess legitimate desires for the traditional Mass and sacraments, and given the pastoral leniency demonstrated by the Holy See in its implementation, we respectfully question any perceived need to interpret the document in the strictest possible manner or exceed its written requirements. Therefore, we respectfully request that you reconsider the plan of the TLM in the Diocese of Charlotte. We ask that the implementation not surpass the strict requirements of TC. We further request that you become more acquainted with our Latin Mass communities to better understand their desires, challenges, and pastoral needs. I don't think he's been to any of them. We are confident that you will recognize in these parishioners faithful sons and daughters of the Church who simply wish to live in peace with access to the traditional liturgy in their own parishes. Having listened to the pastors and their parishioners, we trust that you will have confidence in the legitimacy of requesting an extension from the Holy See. Should the Holy See deny such a request, we would hope to provide for the needs of the faithful to the best of our ability. And there's signed with it. We took out the signatures just in case, not all y'all need to know who it is. Don't have the response back. Okay, here's the bishop's reply. Thanks for writing to share your concerns. I'm grateful for your love and support of the people of God and trust to our care. We can discuss the further of our upcoming meeting schedule on May 8th. I prefer not to get an email discussion at this time. However, for the sake of not keeping you waiting for a response to the request, I share the following. I have reread Traditionis Custodes in light of your letter and do not find that my proposed implementation of it to be outside the norms expressed within it, nor outside my interpretation of the spirit of the document. We love the spirit of the documents. Your assessment of the history of the TLM is accurate yet incomplete, as it does not include Francis's statements, especially TC, which conclude after consultation with the bishops in 2020 that a change in practice was needed. Our agreement or disagreement with that assessment is not germane, given that our scope of its impact is limited to a small portion of the universal church. Your conclusion regarding the harmony that has existed in your parish, I trust. That said, the document of his recent synodal process of our diocese do note a marked division along liturgical lines in our community. I cannot prove that it caused by the celebration of the TLM. I can attest that Pope Francis' stated purpose in TC is for a, quote, constant search of ecclesial communion. My implementation of TC is for the same purpose. I appreciate the ways in which our parishioners feel relative to this topic and understand how they feel marginalized. I am sorry that they feel that way. I actually wrote him, and he actually just pretty much copy and paste that to me. At our meeting, we can discuss ways which we can continue to serve these brothers and sisters in the parishes in which they will remain parishioners, given that the new location will serve only as a Mass site on Sundays. They are not being removed from their parishes. Nowhere in the TC document is there a clause directing the protocol for requesting an extension. As such, my determination to not do so does not, quote, exceed the specific requirements of TC, but rather is in full conformity with it. Similarly, the decision to create one site is within the norms established. If I were to establish two sites, I am sure there would be those who would want three, and so on and on. The point of TC is clearly to reduce the celebration of the TLM. We are going from 4 sites to one somewhat central site. I will be appointing a priest to celebrate the TLM, Given that 3.2, paragraph 3.2, states that there will be a place to gather for worship, which does not become a new parish, personal or otherwise, leads me to believe that the Holy Father wants these members of the faithful to remain as parishioners in their current parishes with all that entails. In that regard, the faithful who celebrate the TLM will still be in your parishes and still be in your communities that have supported them to this point. I'm not sure what the rationale for requesting an extension by our diocese when it was sought a few years ago. An extension, in my mind, is a temporary accommodation for a particular purpose. I would have hoped that the previous extension already given would have been used to prepare for the eventual implementation of TC, because that wasn't the purpose at the time. If that was not the case, I cannot speak to that. I cannot seek an extension since I had no reason to do so. Regardless of when we do this, it will be painful for our faithful. Pope Francis knew that when he promulgated TC, our kicking the can down the road does nothing but prolong the pain and uncertainty for these faithful. I have made arrangements for a location to serve this need. I will be assigning a priest to serve this need, and we will be in accord to the provisions of the motu proprio. The claim that I need more time in the diocese to better understand the situation is to suggest that somehow the needs of the TLM community in our 4 parishes are substantially different than those of other TLM communities around the world. So again, he hasn't seen any of it, but now we're being lumped in with everyone else that has he gone to every TLM parish in the world? And have said on multiple. I have served in multiple dioceses where there is a TLM, and have sat on multiple presbyterial councils which have discussed this matter. I have listened to our people here in Charlotte as well as elsewhere. I do not feel any need for additional time to come to know these particular people more than I already have, to have a clearer understanding of their circumstance. I know they are good and holy people, and that this is hard for them. 1, 2, or 10 more years of knowing them will not change the current reality of implementation of a directive by Pope Francis. Remember, he's writing this at a time when Pope Francis has been dead for how long now? This was made a week ago. Lastly, I will simply invite you to trust the Holy Spirit working through our church at this moment. I know it can be hard, especially when it is a matter with which we do not agree. I am praying for all you and the people you serve. You are not alone in this, and I am here to walk with you and our faithful as together we follow the magisterium of our church. No need to write back. You can feel free to share your further thoughts when we meet in a few weeks. I simply wanted to let you know that I received your letter and how I see things moving forward. What day was that? This was God bless you this Triduum and in the Easter season ahead. So again, I have spoken. That's about it. See what I have here. This is the Rorate celli thing that you saw the other day. And here's Father Paul and that backwards feet, picking some of this apart. He designates a practice. If you know Father Paul, he's not quote unquote a TLM guy. Anyways, he designates the practice of using water and wine for purification of the vessels, saying there's no need to use water and wine, as was done prior to the Novus Ordo. The problem, the Novus Ordo GIRM, the GIRM, the General Instruction Roman Missal, explicitly allows this in paragraph 279. Next one he goes, rather than take steps so that the faithful may also be able to say or sing together in Latin those parts of the ordinary of the Mass which pertain to them, as called for in Sacrosanctum Concilium 54, Bishop Martyrs banning the use of Latin within the Mass almost entirely. This is from his thing. Some who desire the use of Latin can point out a few documents to justify their selections and personal preferences, while the Church makes clear that we still embrace our Latin ritual patrimony. These choices to introduce Latin are not pastorally sensitive. I understand the majority of Masses in our diocese are being celebrated in the vernacular. However, there are several places that are introducing Latin Mass responses, just responses that are in Latin. Latin ordinary chants, Latin antiphons, and even the memorial acclamation of the Our Father, the Pater Noster, the one that the Holy Father sings currently. Latin polyphony and motets are being sung at the offertory and during the distribution of Holy Communion. God, heaven forbid. All these parts are rendered less engaging by the use of Latin. A place for using Latin in the liturgy would be, to name a few examples, a specific gathering of scholars, clergy, and other trained in classical music. This is not the reality in our parishes and communities. I live here. Have you ever been to a school mass? Most times when you go to a school mass, it's cringe, right? There's a parish not too far from me. When they do a school mass, it is the best choir that I've been to in any traditional parish I've been to. They are fantastic. And it's kids. It's the darn school singing it. Really, I mean, you ever heard of classical schools where they teach Latin? I mean, some even teach Latin and Greek. Grief. You ever seen an exit sign? Well, exit is Latin. Are we getting rid of the exit signs at the chancery too because it says Latin on it? Because not everyone there is scholars, clerics, and trained in classical music. I mean, I'll go through it here. He boasts, someone should let the Pope know that Bishop Martin thinks that the fiddleback is a clear sign that of a priest celebrant who prefers the liturgical and possible theological life of the Church prior to Vatican II and is only used as a statement. There is simply no authority in the Bishop Martin to regulate the ability of women of veil. Remarkable. Here's the thing. Women who have chosen to wear a veil as an expression of personal piety are not to do so when they are assistant in any official capacity, like the usher, etc. In one of the most bizarre regulations, Bishop Martin assumes the ability to regulate the private prayer of a priest before Mass. This is simply ridiculous, and I do not use this word lightly, tyrannical. This is from his document. We'll pull the document up here in a second. There is no option given in the current liturgical books that prescribes certain vesting or divesting prayers. Prayer for preparation before Mass. How do I get that out of there? And Thanksgiving after Mass is to take place in some other way, and if possible in common with the other assisting ministers. I encourage the faithful diocese to exercise their canon 2212, section 3, right to reverently, respectfully, and firmly make their desires and views on his issue known to his excellency. The problem with that, Father Paul, is he doesn't care. We've tried that. I'm trying to be as respectful as humanly possible. He's not listening. It's his way or the highway. Now, this document, I'll put the document up first because it's just worth looking at. I'm glad it came out because it showed how crazy this is. Plus, it showed how great our diocese is at the same time. So you already heard about that. I know other people have already talked about this. Latin language here. Let's see. Our ancestors heard the Mass in Latin every Sunday, but never understood it. Has he asked any of our ancestors that? I mean, people that were illiterate went to Mass and heard it for how many years? Hundreds of years? Hundreds on hundreds of years? People less than a couple of generations ago, they read Latin. I mean, you had to read you read a book, any book. There's Latin phrases in there because they expected you to know some Latin in there. I mean, could you be fluent in it? Okay, maybe not fluent, but you knew it. Their experience was the reason that the council asked the entire church to welcome the use of the vernacular languages, Sacrosanctum Concilium 32:20. On that, there's a group here called Veterum Sapientiae. And the reason why I bring this up is, by the way, it's here. Lift up high the torch of Latin as a bond of unity among peoples of all nations. St. John Paul II. I haven't been on the site in a while. It's on the site. I have it on the Sensibilium channel. Type in Veterum Sapientiae. There's sermons, etc. on there.
Spiritu Sancti. Amen. This evening, I'd like to discuss the Latin language in the life of the Church, especially as it pertains to the formation of her priests. In particular, asking, what is the will of the Church on this issue before, during, and after Vatican II, and what is the current state of Latin and priestly formation today? Lastly, I'd like to share with you some information about the organization I represent and how we are trying to respond to the will of the Church. To begin, in his letter to the Galatians, St. Paul emphasized the importance of the context of our Lord's birth, writing that Christ was born in the fullness of time and under the law of Moses. St. Luke gives further. The 11th asked the German bishops to step in, quote, Let the bishops especially take charge and diligently see to it that the study of the Latin language, which accompanies and assists the Catholic religion in all the West, should regain its strength in the hope of its ancient glory. For it is to be grieved that so many clerics and priests, insufficiently knowledgeable in this language, the heritage of ancient wisdom being relegated to the background and distinguished works of our authors being neglected, in which works of dogma of our faith are solidly and clearly propounded and strongly and victoriously defended against the attacks of its adversaries, acquire their doctrine from books and periodicals published in the vernacular, with the result that there is often a lack of precision in language, of careful presentation of the argumentation, and a faithful interpretation of dogma, end quote. In a letter to the Cardinal Prefect of Seminaries, Pius XI sounded another warning, arguing that in studying theology in the vernacular, quote, there is no precision of idiom and a careful method of argument, and likewise, a faithful interpretation of dogma is lacking, end quote. Pius XI would make his concerns public in a 1924 motu proprio, saying, quote, no wonder that our predecessors never refrained, when the times warranted it, from intervening in the fortunes of Latin, because they acted with the more zeal that Latin letters had fallen into a worse condition, end quote. By 1928, the Holy See began taking specific actions. For instance, the Sacred Congregation of Seminaries to the bishops of the United States recommended that Latin was to be regarded as the most important element in humanities. Oral and written exercises were necessary. Candidates to philosophy have to possess a sufficient mastery of the Latin language, and compulsory catch-up classes would be had if necessary. Under Pius XII, we see in his 1951 address to Latin teachers, quote, alas, the Latin language, the glory of priests, today has practitioners that are too weak and too few, end quote. In 1957, the Sacred Congregation for Seminaries, in a letter addressed to the bishops of the world, said, quote, there is no lack of priests who, when it comes to Latin, labor under such great ignorance that they not only are unable to speak it without difficulty or to write it without committing grammatical mistakes, but also cannot understand even the easiest of Latin authors, end quote. This then takes us to Pope St. John the 23rd. Isn't he the Pope who opened the door to modernization and the vernacular, pushing Latin aside? Not at all. Of all the popes before or since, St. John offers the strongest defense of Latin. On February 22nd, 1962, a mere 8 months before Vatican II, St. John promulgated Veterum Sapientia on the promotion of the study of Latin. Here are just a few points from the document. 1. The Church has clothed her teaching in the golden dress of Greek and Latin thought and language. The Roman Empire also was a providential matrix for the spread of Christianity. 2. Latin is perfect for the universal Church, for it's an international language that raises no envy. 3. St. John repeats the words of Pius XI on the utility of Latin as a language for the Church. Quote, indeed, the Church, since she holds all nations in her embrace and will last till the consummation of the ages, requires a language that is by its very nature universal, unchanging, and not vulgar, end quote. Number 4, Latin is a treasure, a door open to all to enter into the ancient truths of Christianity, a bond uniting all Christians. 5, its study sharpens the mind of youth. But here's the heart of the document. Quote, and we also, impelled by the weightiest of reasons, the same as those which prompted our predecessors in provincial synods, are fully determined to restore this language to its position of honor and to do all we can to promote its study and use. The employment of Latin has recently been contested in many quarters, and many are asking what the mind of the Apostolic See is in this matter. We have therefore decided to issue the timely directives contained in this document so as to ensure that the ancient and uninterrupted use of Latin be maintained and, where necessary, restored, end quote.
All right, so everyone's seen the Rorate thing. Now, this has gotten tabled, but this is what caused the great stir. Thankfully, I was happy it came out. because it showed how great the diocese was and showed how nutty crazy this is. He gets into the text on why Latin, liturgical rubrics and texts, and everyone's read it, seen it. The Latin language, the Latin holds no doubt special and official role within the Latin Church. No kidding. Cross-pollination and liturgical rites, the altar and its orientation, conclusions, prescriptions, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so here's some of the fun liturgical norms that came out. The altar rails are not permitted, therefore the sanctuary is to be separated from the nave by a change of elevation. So no demarcation line, just change of elevation. Even though one parish is a downward angle, and then I guess the change of elevation is just because it's 2 inches off the ground from the bottom. All movable altars should be removed, and permanent fixed altar rails should not be used anymore. The placement of prie-dieu for reception and communion is not appropriate. I know some parishes that use prie-dieu because they have the altar rail and then they have a side because the church is wide, and they just use that for the side pews to come in, kind of like an extension of the altar rail. So I know exactly some of the parishes that he's talking about. The altar is to be freestanding. Mass is facing the people. I know a priest that he's not at this parish anymore that actually said, "I will never say a mass facing the people." This makes no sense. Plus, the rubrics kind of says, turn around. Liturgical separation the altar can only contain a corporal, purificator, vessels, and the missal. There is no mention of a missal stand. If a priest has visual impairment, needs to elevate a book, there can be used simple low-profile book so that people can see the Eucharistic species. How do you see the Eucharistic species on a table when you're on it when the altar is elevated? You need to get a drone or something to look up. I mean, how do you pull that off? But the book stand's doing it. Okay. The candlesticks should be arranged around the altar, since placing them on the altar will always obstruct the vision of the faithful. Again, now you put it on the side, so if people on the side are angled there, then now that obstructs views. Again, do you just get rid of the candles then? This stuff like what were you smoking before you started typing? When the cross cannot be placed near the altar, it has to be laid flat on the mensa so that the faithful's view is not obstructed. Again, gotta get that cross out of the way, but I mistook that. I was on Calvin Robinson's show, and we said that it's not there anymore. I'm like, well, who you bow to? I mean, that's in the rubric. You bow towards the cross, but I guess it's on the table laying flat, so they do that. I mean, it's laughable. Then it gets into tech. I mean, projector screens are totally cool. Everyone should get one. HD preferable. Transmission pre-record homily of the bishop. I've never seen that before. Only thing I could think of is remembers that Apple commercial from long ago. The guy throws the horn, throws the thing, and throws it into the thing. Anyways, rubrics and text of the missal. Latin parts should be chosen judiciously only for those particular celebrations which the majority of the participants understand the language. Now, do you raise a poll beforehand? Hey, by show of hands, how many people know Latin here? We'll throw some Latin in here because 51%. Okay, we're doing some Latin today. What? Since it's really not appropriate for the sign of peace to be exchanged in Mass of the Faithful, I direct the faithful always be invited to do it because we got rid of it. People got rid of it during Rona, and they never got back to it. And so you see most of these old fuddy-duddies that will, we got to make sure I kiss my wife because I haven't kissed her all day, so make sure we kiss her during Mass. The ringing of the bells to signal the congregation to stand for the opening hymn is no longer needed or to be used at the Mass. A verbal welcome by the lecturer. Welcome to St. Blah, blah, blah's Catholic Church. At Altar Girl, because Altar Girls are now being forced to come back in. At Altar Girl, she has curls, she has freckles. It's Susie. At Priest, he's been your priest for 15 years. You should know him by now, but we're going to tell you his name anyways. Again, he's Father blah, blah, blah. Instead of the ringing of the bell when you just stand up, you know exactly what's going on and they process it. Now you got to get welcome. Well, it'd be like at the stadium. Welcome to the game today. If you haven't, you've probably seen it before. If you see somebody next to you, shake your hands and say hi. Good morning to each of you. Now, if you turn your missiles to page 478, we'll sing On Eagle's Wings in any language but Latin. Followed by an indication of the hymn to be sung and the invitation to stand is most important, most appropriate, and should be normative of all masses. Ministers are not to wear a prescribed liturgical vesture, as found in the Nagurn, paragraph 355 FF, and the ceremonial bishops, paragraph 65 FF. In these instructions, there is no option given for priest celebrants to wear berettas, cross their stoles, or wear a maniple. Similarly, chasubles cut in the manner commonly referred to as fiddleback are strongly discouraged. I just think of this. Ahem. These vestments are seen to be understood the faithful as a clear sign of the priest celebrant who prefers the liturgical and possibly theological life of the church prior to Vatican II. Jesus Christ is pre-Vatican II. Given that these vestments may not have been seen in most churches around the world since the 1960s, priestly vesture is not intended to be the place for making such statements, intended or otherwise. Again, if you're reading this and you don't have a Trinity brew right next to you, you need to get one. It's the only way you can read this with any kind of without losing your mind in a sense. Albs that have decoration or lace should have more fabric than decoration. Vestments are to be constructed of noble materials and not to be made overly ornate with overlay decorations and embroidery. Just be plain. We got to be puritanical in a sense. There's no option given to prescribe that. We already went over the prayer before Mass, Thanksgiving, after Mass, take place some other way, or just get rid of it. You don't need to do it. Women veil, somebody saw that. Music be chosen way the faithful can participate, and pastors must diligently plan their selections in such a way that involves all involved in the liturgy can raise their voices in song to God. Latin responses and Mass parts are not to be utilized in parish churches during regular celebrations since they hinder people's participation. Okay, if you ever seen a school Mass, usually you would say that you probably run for the hills. School Mass here in town, I'll give St. Michael's. That's choir. I've ever heard, and it's the kids singing it. And by the way, at that school Mass, all those little girls are veiling. They're all at the altar rail. The reverend beyond everything. They're quiet. They're better than the adults, but it hinders people's participation. Retaining the use of Mass and celebrating Latin is not opportune for the present reality, since the faithful are not accustomed to it. The word I want to say. They are here, even in places where they've been used to it by more recent practice. This becomes problematic for visitors and or new parishioners of those coming into the faith for the first time. So I guess just because we're worried about somebody that came into the church for the first time, we're not allowed to do that. Where's the
Sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostri.
Again, I'm just having some fun with that since he says they're not supposed to. Actually, I think it's later on that he mentions that. So no singing because no one knows what's going on. Hey, Holy Father, Bishop Martin called. He's wanting you to stop using the Pater Noster. And grace singing has been fostered by every means possible, even those new to liturgical suited for comfort that contemporary spirit, blah, blah, blah. Celebration of so-called choir masses celebrate without music or musical accompaniment is strongly discouraged, even if the faithful care for it. Women, both men and women, may serve as extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion, readers, and altar servers. So in order to show equal dignity and role of the baptized faithful, no one may be denied a liturgical role proper to the faithful based on their gender. It would be great if the parishes don't push their girls to do this. Well, this is tabled, but this may come back later. Extraordinary ministers stuff. Communion on both species. Altar servers are not allowed to kneel in front of the altar and during the Eucharistic prayer with candles. Our guys do that. Many of the parishes, if you go to a parish that is like a branch or a fruit of the seminary, you'll see this. They are to remain at their seat and kneel there. In moments of grace, eliminate the third floor and one other assisting server may kneel before the altar and then get their tails back over to the places during the memorial acclamation. Altar servers are not to wear gloves because, that's the reason why they're wearing gloves is to keep their hands because they're not consecrated to keep them from touching the sacred vessels. But, who cares? Pastor to catechize faithful in normative prayer posture for reception of Holy Communion, which is standing and make a bow of the head. No more altar rails. We went over this. Bowing the head. Communicant says amen. It is forbidden to make the sign of the cross with the host before the communicant, since there is no option to do so. So, with the traditional mass, Corpus Christi Custode, meaning Vita Maternum, don't bless anybody with the consecrated host. Faithful is the desired communion on time. Blah blah blah. Use. Where I missed it. He does actually call. Oh, maybe it was up here that he mentions. There are some churches that have reintroduced the communal recitation of the prayer of Saint Michael the Archangel. This prayer is no longer prescribed in the Novus Ordo Missae. While the intention to defeat the power of Satan and other evil spirits is commendable. There, that's pretty cute. Its recitation at the end of the Mass can lead to the unfortunate doubt that the Eucharist liturgy is somehow insufficient to bring about the scattering of evil and motivation to do good. Yeah, Leo the 13th, what did he know? If parishes have the custom of praying this prayer communally at the end of Mass, it had to be done separate from the liturgy and therefore no sooner than after the recessional hymn. The music chosen should encourage singing and not simply listening. Amen. I'm 100% with that. We should be making the walls shake with the Gloria and the Credo and everything like that. Anyway, we should be doing that now. This is a preamble. The Church does not, however, call for the Latin language to be used widely in the liturgy. On the contrary, we are called to use languages that our people understand so we can separate everybody in the Tower of Babel. In no una voce, we got to have separate masses. I cannot comprehend why a vocal minority of the faithful who themselves admit to not understanding Latin would advocate a revival of the Latin language within our diocese, rendering the liturgy unintelligible for all but a few of the people. I don't know anybody that, if you don't know Dominus Vobiscum by the second Mass, question your intelligence sometimes. Moreover, a diocese comprised of so many immigrants, we would be imposing on them an even greater burden. So get rid of English then. Let's make it all Spanish, if that's the case. Not only are they trying to learn English, but assimilate into our culture, that then another language imposed on them that is foreign. Latin's a lot closer to Spanish than English is, so just throwing that out there. However, there are several places that are introducing Latin responses, Latin ordinary chants, Latin antiphons, and even the memorial acclamation of the Our Father. You mean this?
Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum.
Hey, Your Excellency, your boss does it. Anyway, so this got tabled, and here's the pillar comes out. This has got shelved right now, and it mentions that he might do it later on, but the main thing is that is the altar rails. That's his big thing. He's really focused on the altar rails. And the joke was, I thought it was, they interviewed, or Benedictine Abbot Placid Solari, Belmont Abbey, said that he was particularly instrumental in urging Martin to restrict his policy proposals to the limitations of the Gurm. I find that funny just because if you've been to Belmont Abbey, it's the poster child for liturgical destruction. Beautiful altar that got destroyed for a wall for like millions of dollars. And I've been to one of their masses before. There used to be a abbot that would do confession every day. He hobbled in on his walker and just sat there for hours. But I mean, there was one time in Christmas, because there's no one in the pews, you'd think they celebrate Ad Orientem. It's not. They ask people before you get there to go into the choir stalls. So everyone's in the choir stalls. The altar's in the front of the sanctuary, and so they're facing the people. That's how they make that one works. I've seen it. It's really weird. Let's see. I already talked about that. There's That's I already did that. Here's this is some of the stuff from Michael Hayes come out, the unacceptable Latin, kneeling for communions, being, altar rails, vesting prayers, like that. All right, here's the hour. So Mooresville is the B right there. So if you're coming from Boone, hour and 31 minutes out of the mountains to get down here, and then still the roads are kind of stinky up there. But it's still, and remember, this is coming from just Boone. That thing, if they live in Banner Elk or up here somewhere, and they still have to go 20, 30 minutes just to get there, add that in. That's just from Boone to there. So people don't live literally in Boone, or they don't live literally right down the street in Charlotte or anything. But here's Tryon. If anybody cares, I grew up in Cowpens right there. So nobody from St. John the Baptist is going here. They'll go to see Greer here. Taylor's is right there. So they're going to go straight south into Taylor's for Prince of Peace, which is probably 30 minutes away. Here's Our Lady of Grace in Greensboro. So it's an hour and 18 minutes. Again, not everyone lives in that little circle right there. So depending on where you're at, it could be more, it could be less. Obviously, traffic-wise as well. Here's St. Thomas. Here's Charlotte proper, right? This circle right here is the 485. That's Charlotte proper. So it's university area, University of Charlotte, University of North Carolina, Charlotte's there. So it's 45 minutes. Again, everyone that goes to the TLM there does not live right there. There's people who live way out here over on the edge. We're way out here. Here's Mount Holly. That's where the Society Chapel is. And again, as one person said, a buddy of mine texted me that before, saying that a certain apologist, I won't name the name, had a great line on it, and I'll give you that because somebody might get mad at me for it, but I stick with the truth on this, come what may. So if anybody wants to give me grief about it, you're welcome to do so. He wrote me, quote, "If a bishop and a priest can do as the SSPX does, then the Catholic Church does not exist as she was once defined, and the Protestants were right all along, that we're just high church, liturgical Orthodox Protestants who do what we want when we want." TLM was effectively unavailable to 99.99% of Catholics until Summorum Pontificum. Was the Catholic Church still in existence then? Did the local bishops exist? That gets into Cardinal Bellarmine's treatise on the Church Militant that Mediatrix Press has. It's the controversies, and Bellarmine talks about that. Read it. That's not my opinion. It's Cardinal Bellarmine on that. So you stay to the local bishop. As even it stinks, might abuse you, he's still the local, or he's still the authority. Here's St. Anne's, Charlotte. So again, not everyone lives right there, but it's a very expensive area of town right there. So 57 minutes from there. Most people live, again, over here, Lake Wiley, Indian Trail, past here in the corner, maybe Belmont. So again, you'll see where you're going. That's the end point. That's where the chapel is. So just an idea of the area. So not everyone, again, not everyone from there. No one's coming from here to there. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was trying to get St. John the Baptist. Nobody from St. John the Baptist was driving up there. It's just, that's insane. So they'll go here, but everyone else, they'll drive there. We're working on something, hopefully right around, well, I'll just say, hopefully if it comes out, but we're working on something. Trust me, just stay tuned. Say a prayer that comes through. This is from Huntersville, where over a decade the parish has been using the rails. The new bishop enters and demand they had mass there, and he demands to stop it. The people were upset. I don't know how many knelt. They only had this one photo, but at least one kid had the courage to drop down. And this was back in February. I was told June begins the new liturgical norms. I was off by a week. So here is the bulletin on that. Because he mentions it during the distribution of Holy Communion, Bishop chose not to use the altar rails to distribute. And this was upsetting to a number of parishioners who have been used to our almost decade-long practice here. using the kneelers, but allowing each person to choose how she receives the sacrament. So again, we've been knowing this from a while. This is back in January 26th. Okay, so this is not, we're talking May 29th. Most people found out about this. This is, back in January. Here's everyone's been talking about the PDF. If you email him, he will send this to you in a PDF. It's not a leaked thing. It's actually something that they send to you. So you get all that. Someone asked me, what happens if, where do I have it here? What happens if nothing changes? We lose or anything like that? Because we're trying, okay? We're doing everything. There's a line from, sales. I was a sales guy at heart. You miss 100% of your sales if you don't ask for it. Larry Bird had a line, I miss 100% of my shots I never took. So what if we lose? What if nothing happens? I like this quote from this line from Ghostbusters.
What if you're wrong?
If I'm wrong, nothing happens. We go to jail peacefully, quietly. We'll enjoy it.
So like if we're wrong, we're wrong. We don't happen. If nothing happens, we'll go to our sort of prison in a sense. I put up my friend Jonathan Arrington's post that he put on Twitter, Facebook the other day. He goes, Charlotte, I can only imagine what it would be like. Cue the song. How about thousands of well-dressed, devout faithful who are blazing in the Carolina sun before and after High Mass for the same Eucharist nourishment of thanksgiving for God's greatest gift of himself that began this whole Christian thing 2,000 years ago. Here's my personal reflection. What's going on and what might be after the Bishop of Charlotte decided to cancel all the current diocesan TLMs that had long-standing parish homes to start a new set of 2 in a yet-to-be-named retrofitted facility in Mooresville. The Carolinas are home for us, and I was happily present for the first diocesan restoration of the Latin Mass in Charlotte and in Tryon when I was a young college convert. So this also hits close to home for us. I've been going to the Latin Masses in Greater Charlotte, Tryon, and between Boone and High Point, Greensboro for over 20 years, and it was certainly less frequent in the beginning. Many of the bishops, most faithful, obedient, and consistent, enthusiastic, yet prudently pastoral priests have been offering the TLM consistently for a decade or more. They could tell you much better than a non-existent or gravely misrepresented bishop's report whether or not unity was at stake. Traditionis custodes, Latin for betrayers of jailers, betrayals of jailers, was based on insinuation and partial truth, as other long-forgotten motu proprios have been. Francis has passed. Leo hasn't clarified his disputed point. Now remember, Leo's come out saying to the Eastern Rites, we need you. The church needs you. The beauty, the reverence, the mysticism of the Eastern Rites. So, I can't imagine him saying, we don't want the mysticism in the West. And given the contradiction between Summarum Pontificum and TC and how Francis himself allowed the ICR and FSP, Institute of Christ the King, and FSSP to keep their own parishes, it certainly made sense to await further instruction. His Excellency, to the contrary, has acted in a seemingly anti-synodal manner, and he leaves the Holy Father in a bind. Does Leo explicitly correct his bishop, perhaps with a modified explanation of his recent comments to the Orthodox in regard to liturgical traditions? One can only hope. But what can we really do? Well, most of that is out of our hands. It's either laity or even the courageous clergy. Instead, I think of my old best friend in the vicinity, who was a PR guy for years. I went to him and his family to those first TLMs in the diocese. I get in his shoes now. Instead of the bishop's predicted drastic drop in attendance, we plan and have well over the current 1,000 to be present. Large families, small families, professors and farmers, every race, language, and nationality in the area, as you already see at every TLM. More so at any other example of Christian worship in the United States of America. Tons of college students and seminarians who, by and large, have some free time in July. Lots of locals and folks from around the area who want to make a sort of pilgrimage for restoration. Friends invite friends. Folks arrive early and bring in picnics, potlucks. They stay late, enjoying each other's company and their shared faith and profound reverence for the liturgy that is effectively the same public worship used throughout the West for a millennium and a half. So again, if it's an early mass, make a day out, make a morning out of it, have some fun. We're doing this week exactly what we're doing in remote Gaul in the late 5th century. About that time in July, when the Mass will be forcibly removed, we'll be celebrating our same Lady of Mount Carmel that the Carmelites were celebrating in that way in the 13th century in the Holy Land and in England. Can you trace anything about your own lineage to the year 1300, to the 490s? So to root yourself in the tradition, come to be part of something bi-millennial. The good photographers and videographers will record this for posterity. But in the interim, we'll send it to friends in Urbe who know how to get it before the right eyes, means world. The world will be able to laugh or jest, although some of the more upright souls will wonder, what is this thing that draws such a diverse a group to linger in the summer heat and humidity of the armpit of the Carolinas? Answer, the most beautiful thing this side of heaven. If traditionalists in the Southeast contribute to this sort of fight for the faith as a solution to a real problem, it won't be backing down from a fight, and it won't be a concession to defeat. It will be a humble, rational response that fits our capability, and that would even naturally elicit the sort of mercy that was the buzzword for the last decade. It would also be a sort of good news, encouraging everyone to just give up on the diocese and go to Mount Holly. The idea SSPX is giving up on those who helped and sacrificed to build this in the right way, under God-given and church-approved authority. It's also just what the malicious hierarch would want. He would then pass along to his boss that no one or very few obeyed. They all just complained and then went their own way. They opted for an illegitimate choice of a place that has never had any permission to do what it's doing and is in no way obedient to the bishop or pope, despite what they promised in their trad ordination rite. The whole obedience to the bishop and his successors, Ignatius of Antioch and Clement of Rome. And again, I've asked guys there before, they never have answered. Are you obedient to the bishop? The answer is no. They never say it. I have a sense that the whole Catholic world would be watching too. So why not? This would be an evangelon that would make the rounds and could transform Central and Western North Carolina, because the priestly roots there are very good. We could be mad trads for the injustice done, but we need to be glad trads in our approach to the restoration, and we cannot be rad trads without being in union with our bishops and pope, as all Catholics have done it throughout 2,000 years. Two wrongs here wouldn't make a right, but a magnificent right might just right the wrong. Fiat, fiat.
As for the eternal pains of hell, they are not on the same footing as temporal ills. We should think of them with fear and be on our guard against them. Before punishment, think of the punishment. That's from St. Gregory the Great. Before punishment, think of punishment. When trouble and adversity are upon us, call to mind their value, how they serve to cleanse us from sin and to put us on our guard against it, and to remove many an occasion of it. How holiness is advanced. For suffering makes us humble, compassionate towards others, eager for God's help, and clemency towards us. The psalmist says, He is nigh unto them that are of contrite heart. Psalm 33:19. And shows us ourselves for what we really are. And finally, how suffering opens out great glory for us, and its best gift enables us in our turn to do something for Christ, who suffered so much for us. When the storm is over, rejoice that you have come safely through it, like the sailors after heavy weather or wreck, like the travelers after traversing dangerous roads. Remember, all the time St. Paul brought up all of his glories. We sometimes put that on a very material, like he was shipwrecked. he was beaten. He was almost robbed. He was stoned. He was stoned by the Jews. He was this, he was that. And it keeps going on. We think about all those things as like instances historically that happened to St. Paul. But that's not the way they're supposed to be thought of. Because if we make it through, if you make it through a terrible storm, for that is the anxiety and all the stuff that fills up inside you when your world's falling apart. You look outside, everything's normal. But for you, the whole world's falling apart. Eventually, you pop out the other side of that, especially if you hold on to the coattails of our dear Lord. And when you pop out the other side of that, it's exactly what he's talking about here. We weathered the storm, or the wreck. Like the traveler, after traversing dangerous roads. Do not prolong the evil by tormenting yourself with rancor and resentful dislike of the one through whom injury may have befallen you. Remember, St. Francis talks so much about, and I can read it to you again. It's what I read the other night. But, no, I didn't read it. I'll read it. Let me read it right now. I'm going to read it right now, and I'll come back to that. It's the second part of what I was reading to you before about suffering. To those, quote from St. Francis, to those who persecute us, find fault with us, or rebuke us, love of enemy is the surest sign that the spirit of self has given way in a man to the Spirit of the Lord. Do you see? That's why we forgive them. And that's why we pray for them. It doesn't mean we have to go have pizza with them. I mean, we don't have to, people that are beating on us right now, we don't have to call them up and tell them we want to go get a soda pop with them at the local place where you get soda pops and just chat for a while. We don't have to do that, but we can pray for them. We can pray and we can make little sacrifices for them, and we can speak well of them. Do you see? Because actually, and let me just read it because he's going to go on. So to love those who persecute us, find fault with us, or rebuke us, love of enemy is the surest sign that the spirit of self has given way in a man to the Spirit of the Lord. Again, we don't beat ourselves up because our initial reaction is anger with that person. Somebody smacks you in the face, you don't just be like, oh, I just love it when you do that. No, I don't like it when you smack me in the face. But it takes a minute, and you gain your composure, and you're willing to die for that person. Maybe in that second where they smack you in the face, you're not willing to die for the person because you too have senses, and that hurt, okay? But then when you gain your composure again, you're willing to die for that person. So we don't beat ourselves up because our initial reaction, our animal instinct wants to pummel this guy. No, we're not going to pummel him though. But I feel like pummeling him, but I'm not going to do it. Do you see? But that initial reaction is not what we base it on. We have to give ourselves a minute to gain composure, especially if we're still new at cultivating these virtues. Such love Francis requires of his friars because the Lord asks it of us. Quote, no matter who shall come to the friars, be he friend or foe, thief or robber, he is to be received with kindness. That's from the first rule, chapter 7. Quote, we friars must all consider what the Lord says. Love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. For our Lord Jesus Christ, whose footsteps we must follow, called his betrayer friend and gladly yielded himself to those who crucified him.
You can watch the rest of it. It's on the Sense Fidelium channel. 100% right. At the first part, he's talking about attachment and detachment. Again, it's not talking about what's going on right now, but it's the same mindset. Get your minds right on this. We will get through the storm. This is temporary, not forever. This ain't the 60s and 70s when the hope was barely there. The roots are still here and it will grow back. It's kind of like the Matrix when at the end of it goes, we are still here. We are still here. We will be here. Here's the website, Carolina Liturgy, Carolina Traditional Liturgy Society. If you want any updates on things, go to here, sign up for their mail list. I know the guys are part of this. I'm with the guys. So it's another group, again, faithful advocates. And if you want to support the channel, there's my websites, there's Sons of Fidelity and Press. Obviously, let's go to .com. It basically it goes right to the liturgy. You also posted that earlier. So there's the main site for Sons of Fidelity. Just go there. There's 11,000 links on there. So check it out. And let's see. And Sons of Fidelity TV. It's the app. So if you want to get the app, check out Sons of Fidelity TV and help support. It's my way of doing Patreon. It's a Patreon thing, except you get an app out of it. 800 videos on there and more. I look at it as if you know it formed, it's the trad style of formed. Anyways, God love you. Have a great day. Keep your head up. And like I said, like Jocko tells everyone, good. So a little, I guess, in this with the solutions type deal thing. First off, we're Father Carney recommended we do the Holy Face Chaplet. So anybody that's not in the Diocese of Charlotte, if you're asking, what can you do? Father Carney brought up, ask everybody to do a crusade for the Holy Face Chaplet. So if you know the Holy Face Chaplet, say it every day for the intentions of this. Under the intercession of Our Lady of the Holy Name, which if you don't know, it's not much known about that. If you read any of the books on the Holy Name, the Life of Sister Mary St. Pierre, that definitely speaks of it. It's pretty much one of the only books that speaks of it. No other, you're not going to find it. There's no icon, there's nothing, no statue, anything like that. We're actually trying to think about see if we can get an icon drawn up or a statue somehow. We're figuring out how to pull that off. But so yeah, if you want to do something, the chaplet, it's not that long of a chaplet, very short, and you can do it. That's if you want to do something, if you can do something for us outside the diocese, please. That's it. Prayer is the big one. Again, it goes back to that the good video. Think about this. I mean, God thinks that we're this tough here at the diocese to be able to handle this. I mean, it also could be that this St. John's Youth. It's an optimal sign that the God's upset of us people when He sends us clerics in name only, in a sense. So I mean, it could be that too. But we're going to try the other part right now. We're going to look at it as God thinks of us as able to handle this and worthy to be able to handle this, and thinks that we're strong and tough enough to be able to get through this and handle this. Could be anybody else, could be another diocese, could be a lot of other ones. There's other dioceses that went through other things too. So it's not just like, oh, woe is us. There's other dioceses that are struggling, hurting. Detroit, I think, just had a thing go down the other day. I haven't kept up with it. One reason, because I'm not in Detroit. I don't know the ins and outs. Our home is right now. Our home is our focus here. So, I mean, for people in Detroit, feel for you as well. I don't know the ins and outs. I haven't looked at any of it. And full disclosure, I usually never look at what's going on in dioceses outside my own. I don't really keep up with other channels do. It's not my focus. It's not my, what I want to do. It's not, when somebody writes me in our groups and says, see what's going on in Germany or, I don't know, just pick somewhere. And, unless it's something like, it's like newsworthy for News from the Pew, or if I do something like Clown Plan or anything like that, I don't look at it. It's, keep focused on what I'm doing on here and what's going on in my local diocese, to be honest. But no, and people here, we're very optimistic. I've talked to many priests, very optimistic about what the future holds, even if we get help from Rome, if we don't. Again, it goes back to the detachment thing. If nothing happens, we're going to be good. If something good happens, we're going to be good. You're not going to, like Friar Anthony said, we're going to keep our composure. So if you're listening to Diocese of Charlotte, try to have that same mentality. Don't be anxious. Don't be disturbed. Don't be worried about that. I mean, that's the devil working. Don't let him, the devil likes to fish in troubled waters, was it Aloysius Gonzaga brings up. But don't do that. Don't let them fish easily. Another Jocko video I brought up before is the battle. I think I wrote it in the bullet in my newsletter, which you can sign up at censusfidelium.com. Is the battle fatigue. What battle fatigue is you see the guys after combat, their helmet is off or helmet's on the ground and they're on one knee or something like this. And battle fatigue in life that brings the anxiety, that brings the worry, that brings the what ifs. I don't know what to do and things like that. You're down and you're out almost. Don't let battle fatigue get you down. Stay focused, stay positive, stay joyful. They really, it's kind of like that line from Apollo 13 when everything's going wrong in the space shuttle, and the head guy in Houston goes, "With all due respect, sir, I think this would be our finest hour." In Charlotte, let's have that attitude. This is going to be our finest hour. So yeah, pray, hope, don't worry. Holy Face Chaplet. That goes for everybody, inside the diocese or outside diocese. Better trads. So I put a post up talking about that God wants this mass. It's been shot at, it's been attacked for how many decades now? God wants this mass. It will come back. It will, if they try to burn this area down, we'll just grow right back, like I mentioned before. With better the nutrients in there will come back. You literally have to pretty much kill us all to get rid of the thing and then scrub the internet. It's not going anywhere. But we have to be better when we come out on the other side. I know everyone here isn't like this, but if you know anybody like that, tell them. Hey, we go outside after we finish mass. You give a good 15-minute Thanksgiving. Don't rush out into wherever the outside is, the group out, the setting outside, the quad or whatever you want to call it. Don't go out there and just to complain. Have joy. Talk about the mass. Talk about faith. Talk about something you heard in the sermon or something. Talk about the beauty, how great of a day it is, how great it is to see you, John, or whoever it is. Something good. Don't get into bishop bashing or pope bashing or just being the negative, complainer. Don't be a complainer after you just received the sacred species, the beautiful mystical supper, as the Easterners call it. Don't fall into it. You got our Lord in there. There's plenty of groups. We'll go to the Byzantine parish in Charlotte, and I never heard any of them complain. They're always smiling. They're always joyful after. And it's not like a idiotic joy or anything. These guys are happy to see everyone, and it's contagious too. I've never heard them ever complain about anything goes on, and they have their liturgy in a convention hall on the campus of one of the parishes. If they don't have it in there, they have it in this little chapel where pretty much if you have more than 15 people, it's hard. It's beautiful inside there too. It's really cool, but it's slam packed. If you have any kids, it makes it even harder. So we've gone with a stroller before, and we're pretty much like a big rock blocking the water from going around. I think we're a nuisance to some of the people who just walk back and forth. But these guys have almost nothing, and they're happy. Afterwards, they're taking the chairs down, they're putting the tables back. They have to set up for mass liturgy every Sunday, roll out something. They would love their own parish, but they don't have anything. And on top of that, that's another solution. If Mooresville's not a solution for you, if you're on the south side until something else happens that we're working on, check out St. Basil's. If you're in the Charlotte area, there's 2 Ukrainian missions. St. Basil, and Father does Greek and Slavic in the liturgy. So you want tradition. He does. They still do tradition. He came up to me one time. This is how I learned about him. During when TC went down, he asked, "What are you doing for Holy Week?" And I told him, "Well, I'm not going to the Bugnini 62 because there's some groups out there that hate Bugnini, but they'll do the Bugnini Holy Week." And I'm done with Bugnini. I'm not going to that one. And he goes, "Come to mine. We're pre-55." He goes, "We're pre." He's like, I think his words were like, "We're pre-4th century" or something like that. And A very, very, very cool liturgy, very manly. So yeah, and that's not saying jet out and turn your back on the TLM. That's just another option. Other people can't make the trip up to Mooresville. Try that. So anyway, pray, hope, don't worry. Keep the faith. Stay strong. This will pass. Like Friar Anthony mentioned in the thing, it's like a storm. If you're here in the Charlotte area, you've been through hurricanes, you've been through all kinds of different storms. They've always passed. We rebuild afterwards. Again, same thing with here. And who knows? Who knows what the future holds anyways? Until then, learn, don't worry about what if. Don't worry about what the future holds. Learn every day, live every day by that day. Don't worry about the past. The past is done. Don't worry about the future. It'll take care of itself. You worry about what you're doing right this minute. You become as holy as you can possibly be. Read good books by the saints. Read, pray. Do the daily. If you go to if you like apps, I have an app, censusfidelium.tv. I'll pull it up for you because the reason why I bring this up. Here it is right there. Gives you a free trial. If you don't like it in 15 days, cancel. I have a daily office for families on there that I recorded for it. It's from the Melkites. It's really good. Just hit play during the hour. It's like 8 to 9 minutes. And it's got it all covered. You don't have to do anything besides sit there and pray with it and listen to it, whatever you want to do. And on top of that, obviously, it's got all the sermons for the week. It's got 800 videos on it. I update it every weekend for the whole week. And I even put the Novus Ordo calendar on this. It's got the traditional calendar, the Byzantine calendar, and it's got the Novus Ordo calendar. It's all trad sermons, traditional sermons, but it's so that everyone can. I don't leave anybody behind in a sense. So I mean, every day read your scriptures, pray. Don't get into the drama. Stay out of it. Do everything you can to become holier every day. You're either going backwards or forwards. You're not staying the same. That's the way. Then whatever the bishop does on things, he can't stop you from becoming holier. Don't give that excuse. Excuses are lies. So if you say that you can't become this because Bishop whoever does something to you, that's a lie. It's all on you. Judgment Day he will not be saying, well, what'd you do about how'd you be able to just stand up against the bishop you had? We're going to put someone to blame here. Okay, we'll give him 40%. No, it's going to be 100%. Anyway, God love you. I know this was a long one. It's one it's been a passionate time down here in the North Carolinas. So anyway, God love you. Have a great day.
Ave Maria Stella